Shout out to William Hill's Final One Standing for sponsoring this episode, where big talk meets big stakes. 500k, one team a week, no second chances.
AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that be linked with a transfer move to Arsenal.
Hi and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. Arsenal in a friendly yesterday against Villarreal, suffering a surprise defeat. I was at the game. It was great to see so many fans out the stadium packed for that friendly, but a very disappointing result by Arsenal, which got people asking loads and loads of questions. Some people going a bit too far, in my opinion. But listen, legitimate questions to ask about Arsenal and how they've been performing so far in pre-season. 4 games, 2 wins, 2 defeats. Not really looked that impressive in any of the games. There was a start in the game for new signing Victor Gyökeres. Lots of anticipation around him, but you could see that Arsenal are going to have to learn how to play with this guy. Didn't really play balls in behind for him. Didn't really find him enough. You know, it was a little bit of a frustrating game for him. Did have a couple of shots in the game, but they need to learn how to play with Victor Gyökeres. But these things take time. It's a new guy, kind of a new system, and it's going to take a little while for it all to get going. Again, though, in the game, which was a poor performance by Arsenal, we saw that, you know, there were problems dealing with teams in transition. I thought Villarreal were really, really good, by the way, and deserved their win. But problems with dealing with things in transition, which is something that we saw last year. How many games did we dominate? Because we absolutely dominated that game yesterday, but didn't get caught out on the counter-attack. And also, the problem on that left-hand side is still there to see. It wasn't a great game for Gabriel Martinelli. He hasn't had a good pre-season so far. Later on, Madueke was played on the left-hand side. And Mikel Arteta saying in his press conference afterwards that Noni Madueke, who made his debut in that game, is going to be a player that will be be used on both flanks, on the right and also on the left-hand side. So he's sort of saying he's going to play on both wings, but he didn't say that he'd been brought in to play on that left-hand side, which so far this summer friendlies and last season, of course, in the league, has been a bit of a problem, and a problem that Arsenal need to solve. So plenty to think about after that friendly. Plenty to think about. Of course, we've got another one coming up on Saturday. And after that, it's next weekend, or should I say the following weekend, away at Manchester United, who brought in, in Buemo, they brought in Cunha. Sesko's going to be probably in that game. It's not going to be an easy start for Arsenal. So really got to get their act together and get their act together fast. Who's going to be coming in and who's going to be leaving? We got some clues, I thought, yesterday in that squad about who is going to be leaving Arsenal. Just before I get into that, don't forget, Final One Standing. If you want to play the game, it is available right now. All you got to do is click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen. Remember, how to play this game is free to play. You can win up to £500,000 if you get all the way to the end. All you got to do is every week you pick a team. If your team wins, you progress through to the next round. If your team draws or loses, you are out of the competition. Right, that is how it works. Remember, terms and conditions apply. You've got to be over 18 and based in the UK. And please gamble responsibly if you're going to play the game. Now, as I said, there were clues yesterday. I thought in that starting lineup as to who is going to be leaving Arsenal this month, before the transfer window closes on the 1st of September. No Reiss Nelson in the starting lineup. He wasn't injured. He wasn't in it. And we know that, so far this pre-season, he's played really, really well. He's a player that's looked really exciting, really bright. So, the fact that he wasn't playing is quite significant. Fulham are the club that are trying to buy him at the moment. That deal is being negotiated with Arsenal. It's expected to go through before the end of the transfer window. And Arsenal hoping to get around about £15 million for Reiss Nelson. Another player who's fit and could have played in that game and didn't play in that game was Fábio Vieira. No Vieira even in the squad. Spoke about this one yesterday, that he's been heavily linked with a move to Stuttgart, has been confirmed. David Ornstein broke the story the other day. Stuttgart looking to replace the outgoing Milo, who's going to Al Ahly over there in Saudi Arabia. Now, Arsenal and Stuttgart currently negotiating a fee, so you don't want to have a Fábio Vieira playing in that game and, God forbid, he picks up an injury and then you can't sell him. But no Fábio Vieira in that starting lineup or even in the squad yesterday. I think that shows you definitely that they're negotiating with Stuttgart at the moment to try and get this deal done. And, Arsenal want to get in these sort of funds to fund the deal to try and bring in Eberechi Eze. Leandro Trossard, we've spoken about the struggles on that left-hand side. He wasn't in the squad either. Now, the reasons for him not being in the squad was an injury. Mikel Arteta saying that he picked up a slight knock. We know that after that game against Tottenham, and they haven't really wanted to risk him. Arteta saying that he should be back in the squad to face Athletic Bilbao this coming Saturday in the next friendly. However, we know that he's only got 1 year left on his contract. He's changed his agents. He hasn't signed a new deal yet with Arsenal, and he's been heavily linked with a move away to several clubs. Brentford, Palace, amongst two of those clubs that Leandro Trossard has linked with a move to. He could be definitely on his way out before the end of the transfer window, especially if we were to bring in a player on that left-hand side. Another player who hasn't figured is Kang-in, the goalkeeper. Now, spent last season out on loan at Valladolid, has returned back to Arsenal, hasn't figured at all in pre-season. He's got, of course, Kepa, who's come in and came on yesterday in the second half. He's got Setford, who's also been travelling with the squad. He was over there in the Far East and also was on the bench yesterday. No Kang-in at all so far. Now, he's been heavily linked today with a move to Rangers up there in Scotland. Arsenal looking to move out Kang-in. They've got their 3 goalkeepers for the season, so expect him to be moving as well. There was limited game time in the game as well for Alexander Zinchenko, notably lots of minutes in the game for Mars Lewis Skelly, despite the fact that, there's an injury to Calafiori, and you had Zinchenko on the bench. You would have thought if Zinchenko's going to be a mainstay for the new season, he would play quite a lot of minutes, probably a whole half in that game. He didn't. He came on in the second half. But not, a full half. It was a lot of minutes for Mars Lewis Skelly. And he has been heavily linked with a move to Fulham. Fulham are looking at Zinchenko if they lose Anthony Robinson. Now, they could lose Robinson. He's been heavily linked with a move to Saudi Arabia. And if he goes, they're going to look to move to bring in Alexander Zinchenko. So it's going to be a lot of movement. I haven't even mentioned Albert Sambi Lokonga, who hasn't played a minute of pre-season yet for Arsenal. All of these players could be gone before the end of the transfer window. I spoke about how Arsenal have already spent £192 million in bringing players in, but only 6.9 million in sales. They need to sell some players to be able to bring more players in. The player that they're looking to bring in is Eberechi Eze. There's been lots of reports that a bid from Arsenal is imminent. And we can see the left-hand side is a problem for Arsenal. Martinelli struggling at the moment. Madueke came on yesterday and played on the left-hand side. And by the way, he put in a couple of good crosses into the box. You can see he's got a great left foot on him. But he's been deployed predominantly on the right-hand side at Chelsea. Mikel Arteta in his press conference said that Madueke is going to be a player that will feature on both flanks, that he's versatile to play on the left and also the right. But he didn't state that he's going to play as a left winger. So reports that a bid for Eze could be made possibly before the Community Shield on Sunday. Certainly, there's lots of reports saying that Eze wants his future or a sort of clear path on his future before that game against Liverpool in the Community Shield. Very significant today that Crystal Palace looking at Raheem Sterling, who Arsenal had on loan last season. They're looking at a loan move for him. Could he be a possible replacement for Eberechi Eze? And could the fact that Liverpool are kind of cooling on Mark Gay, according to a lot of reports, help Arsenal as well? Remember, Palace ain't going to want to lose both of these players, Mark Gahey and also Eberechi Eze. they're not going to want to lose both of those. Both very, very important players. But Arsenal certainly, if they're going to get Eze, I've been saying it for a few days now, they're going to have to be a bit more decisive and look to make that movement quite quickly. And this one, finally, it's not a player that we've been linked with today, but should Arsenal be trying to make a move for this player if he's going to be available? And that's Bradley Barcola of PSG, left winger. Earlier on in the window, Arsenal were heavily linked with a move for him, but PSG said he's not for sale. Now Fabrizio Romano confirming yesterday that Liverpool are interested in signing the PSG star. If that is the case, and he does become available, should Arsenal also join the bidding? It's amazing what Liverpool have been... Listen, you've got to take your hat off to them. Amazing what they've been doing this summer. Isak, for all intents and purposes, was not available, but they forced him to be available, and now he's going to be on his way to Liverpool. Could they be repeating the trick with Bradley Barcola? We know that PSG do not want to sell him. They value him at around about 100 million euros. Still young at 22, exciting, electric pace. Listen, the reports are PSG don't want to sell, but we heard that about Newcastle. If he is going to be available, he could be a great answer to that left-hand side for Arsenal. Surely they should get involved in that if he does become available. Would love to get your opinions on it in the comments. So those are the rumours for today. Time now is starting to tick on this transfer window. As I said, a lot of outgoings are going to happen. But what about Eze? What about that left-hand side? Are Arsenal going to be able to solve that? Thanks for watching the show, and I'll see you tomorrow.